Hi guys! So I wasn't going to do a video on this at first, and at the last minute I just decided that I would do it. So please excuse the no makeup, still wearing my pajamas, hair in a bun look. I worked on these early in the morning and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do a little video showing how I decorate my cupcakes. So these went to the Pet Project Foundation to help raise money for the San Clemente and Dana Point animal shelters here in Southern California. They were at the Dana Point Festival of Whales celebration, and so I wanted them to reflect an animal theme, but also I wanted them to be edible for almost everyone that would be at the event. So no nuts, no fruit, nothing fancy. These are just plain Jane chocolate cupcakes with vanilla buttercream frosting. And then I decorated them with chocolates shaped like paw prints and chocolates shaped like little puppy dogs that I made with my candy molds. Alright, so let's get started on these. First off, whip out your cupcake liners and start lining your pan. My pan is a commercial sized pan that bakes 24 cupcakes at once. That's why it seems so big, because it is. I use a specific brand of liners that come in a pack of 500. They come in regular size liners and minis, and I use this brand for both. It's my go-to brand of cupcake liners. If you think that all liners are the same, they are not. I'm telling you, they are not. But use whatever you prefer or whatever you happen to have on hand. Now I use a medium-sized ice cream scoop to dish out my batter. That way all of my cupcakes are even and bake perfectly. Once your pan is filled, give it a little tap on the counter to even out everything and to get any air bubbles to come out. Then it's time to just put them in the oven. While the cupcakes are in the oven, it's time to work on the frosting. So this is a homemade buttercream frosting. It's just your basic ingredients. And you want to make sure that you beat your butter really well before you add the powdered sugar. And make sure that you scrape down your bowl a few times while you're beating the butter and while you're adding the powdered sugar. Now, because of the way I'm decorating my cupcakes, I need a thicker frosting that's going to stand up and keep its shape. I can't have it falling down or drooping. So I'm going for a thicker frosting, which means more powdered sugar. Now I want my frosting to be vanilla bean, which means I can either get an actual vanilla bean and scrape out the beans from inside, or I can use a vanilla bean paste. I have a paste that I really like to use, and I find it easier than using an actual bean. But you need to use one or the other to get the vanilla bean look, which means that you can actually see the tiny vanilla beans in the frosting. All those little speckles in the frosting are from the vanilla bean. Once your cupcakes are done, remove them from the oven and place them somewhere safe so they can cool down. Because I use the ice cream scoop, all of my cupcakes are basically the same size. While my cupcakes are cooling, I'm going to melt my chocolates. I'm using white chocolates and regular chocolate candy melts. And I'm using a combination of both for a very specific reason. This is the puppy dog candy mold I'm going to be using, and I want each mold to be different from the next, since all dogs' coats of fur are different. That's why I'm using some white chocolate and some regular chocolate candy melts. So with a fork, I'm going to splatter in some white chocolate into each mold. Each one will be completely different. Then I'll place this mold into the fridge so it can harden. So this is the paw print mold I'll be using. It's a silicone mold, unlike the other one, which is just a clear plastic mold. And what I do is I put my white chocolate into a baggie and I've snipped the end of it off so it's easier to work with. And I'm basically just coloring in the actual pads of the paw print with my white chocolate. I dab some in with my baggie and then I'll go over it with a toothpick to spread it into each pad so it's pretty close to perfect. It's really tedious work, but in the end it'll be very cute. This is how my mold looks now that I'm done with the white chocolate. And then I'm going to place this mold into the fridge so it can harden, and I'll bring out the other one from earlier. The white chocolate from earlier has set, so now I'm going to add my regular chocolate right over the top to fill in the rest of the puppy molds. Now I'm going to place this mold back into the fridge to harden, and I'll bring out the paw print mold from earlier. The white chocolate is now set for the paw print, so now I'm going to do just like I did with the puppy mold. I'm adding regular chocolate right over the top. Then I'll set this one back into the fridge for one final time. The cupcakes are now cooled, and I'm going to place them onto the countertop to decorate. I've taken out the puppy molds that are now completely hardened, and each one is completely different, as every dog is. These puppy molds easily pop out for the most part. Just don't hold it too high in the air when you flip it over, or they could break when they hit the counter. And this is how they look when they're done. Each one has its own unique coat of fur. I've filled my piping bag with frosting, and I'm using decorator tip number 827, and it's by Ateko, probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but it's ATECO, and it's their number 827 tip, which is larger than your standard decorator tip, but this is the tip that I used to decorate the cupcakes that I had in my store. It's my favorite decorator tip. I just love the way it looks on a cupcake. I have a specific style I use to decorate my cupcakes. Most bakers have their own look to their cupcake. Magnolia Bakery, Gigi's, Sprinkles, Casey's Cupcakes, and Sweet Janine's, we all have our own unique look. I use the same decorator tip, and I give it 2 pumps or 2 lifts after the initial dollop of frosting. All of my cupcakes in my store looked the same. Some people like a lot of frosting, some people don't. It's really up to the baker and how they want their cupcakes or their product to look. I've placed some white sprinkles into a wide-rimmed bowl, and I use one hand to turn the cupcake and the other hand to grab sprinkles and place them on the cupcake. The bowl helps catch any sprinkles that get away. I can then easily pour them back into my container. Now we're ready to just add our final touches to the cupcakes. I'm going to place either a paw print or a puppy dog on each cupcake. So the cupcakes are completely decorated and they're ready to go. Each one is perfectly decorated for the event. So the very last thing to do now is just pack up these cupcakes. I use a specific packing container for all of my cupcakes, whether they are a single cupcake or 4 packs or dozens. I only use these specific packing containers. They have a bubble dome lid, and each cupcake fits snugly into a compartment with plenty of room for fancy toppings like these. I never ever use those cardboard cupcake containers that you can buy at the store locally. They are the worst. These cupcake containers I've only been able to find online, and they really are the best thing ever. You never have that problem where you arrive home and your cupcakes have fallen over in the car. It never happens. I mean, there's nothing worse than spending time decorating cupcakes for someone, or even buying beautifully decorated cupcakes just to bring them home and they're completely ruined from the car ride over. So I only use these specific cupcake containers. Alright, these cupcakes are done. They are headed out the door and ready for the festival. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks for watching.